look at you. You keep saying you want to read, and I done got the book club back up and running. And I even gave you a spicy list of books to read. And last thing you read was the anime subtitles on the television that your boyfriend told you to watch, and you don't even know what the hell going on that, cause you ain't doing you. Girl, come on in here. Come on in here so I can tell you how to make reading a habit. Come on in here. I'm sick of this. I ain't mean to fuss at you. That's the only way I get you in here. I can't talk to you nice. Because you don't react to that. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Shelby and the Book Club. I am Shelby Monet, and in today's video, we're going to talk about how to make reading a habit, right? I think one of the most asked questions that I get is, how do I read so much? And it's because I have made it a routine. It is a part of my life. My day doesn't go by without me listening to an audiobook, reading my physical book, or reading something on my iPad. It is just a part of my day. When that does not happen, something is obviously wrong with me. And I know that it's very hard to create a routine. So we're gonna go through some steps here. We're gonna talk about some things, and I'm gonna give you some book recs of some things that I think will get you into reading and get you stuck. So if you'd like to hear it go. Before we get started, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, you share. We growing our family. I'm trying to make a reader out of all of you. Okay? Out of all of you. I'm going to do it. If it's the last thing that I do here, okay, they don't fix my heart. I got extra stamina now. I'm going to make a reader out of y'all. Come get in here, dang it, and bring everybody with you right now. Okay, friends. So I have my notebook here today. Ain't this cute? I got it from Down to the Target. Target, y'all should sponsor me or something, baby. I got this from Down to the Target. It's Auntie Tab's collection. I say, come on in the room. Hey, come on in the room. Hey, Jesus is my library. Jesus is your library. Anyway, I just had to sing that because Auntie Tab used to sing that, and that's how that was my beginnings of Auntie Tab. And every time I say her name, I got to sing the song. Y'all know I hugged her earlier this year. Baby, I forgot all about that. Child, the ADHD be fighting back. Anyway, I have my notebook here because I wrote down some notes. Normally, I have my iPad, the mini girl. But my mom is currently reading. I got my mama read some smut. She reading it on my iPad. So, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my iPad with my notes. So, how to create a reading habit. I want us to create realistic goals. And when I say realistic, I need you to understand that where you are in this moment is going to be completely different from some of the readers that you are taking recommendations from. And I wish somebody would have told me this in the beginning of my reading journey, again, when I was looking for books and I was taking recommendations, because it probably would have saved me a lot of money. It would have saved me a lot of money. So, what is realistic goal setting? Realistic for Shelby is to read 100 to 120 books a year. That's realistic for me because I read about 6 to 10 books every month. You, my friend, that has two under two at home, a husband, you're working a full-time 9 to 5, right? You may not get in 100 to 120 books a year, and that does not make you a bad reader. It doesn't make you inadequate. It does not make you less than. It does not make you any of those things. It's just not a realistic goal for where you are in your reading journey and where your life currently is, right? So I want you to start by saying, I am going to read 10 to 25 books in a year, right? And if you read more, fine, great. If you read less, we need to readjust. Does that make sense? Okay. Other realistic goals that I want you to think about. You're not automatically going to be able to sit down and read for an hour. You're just starting to read again, right? And An hour every day might be the hardest thing you've ever done. Let's aim for 30 minutes. That 30 minutes could be 15 minutes of an audiobook while you're walking the dog. It could be 30 minutes of an audiobook on your drive to work. It could be while you are sitting and letting the polish dry on your toes at your nail appointment, you're reading your book. 30 minutes, okay? 30 minutes a day. For my people that are more advanced, right, an hour or 2 hours might be your thing, right? I read maybe, if I'm being realistic, maybe 3 hours a day I'm reading. 3-4 hours a day I'm reading. That's realistic for me, okay? So really sit down, think about what your life looks like right now. Really set realistic goals, okay? Does that make sense? The other thing that I want you to do when you're setting your goals is I want you to be realistic about how much you're on your phone and how much you're scrolling TikTok. And I want you to start swapping that time out. If you find yourself on your phone aimlessly scrolling, that time could be used to read. Make sense? Get it? Got it? Good? Okay. Next. Friend, find books that align with things that you like. If you like fantasy, I want you to start looking for fantasy books, right? You're trying to make reading a habit. We can talk about reading diversely later, right? We can talk about diversifying your genres later. What the authors look like should always be diverse. We'll talk about that another time. Look for books. Don't go based off of the emotions that a book garners. Go based off of what the book is about. You're trying to make a habit here. You're starting out fresh, friend. You just want to start reading again. What makes me excited as maybe a more advanced reader is not going to make you necessarily excited either. Don't go based off of the emotion that the books garner. Go based off of what they are about. You like fairies. Find books about fairies. Okay? Okay. We also need to stop comparing ourselves to the people that create content around books. Stop doing that. You are not going to read like those people. Maybe you do, right? Because when I was looking up their stuff, what made me realize I was one of them and I should be maybe making the content is because I did read like them. Like, I was reading a lot. I was passionate about whatever the case may be. But you're creating a habit, okay? Them reading 10 books a month is not an insult to you. Stop comparing yourself, baby. Stop it. I'll pop your hand. I'll pop your hand. Stop it. I also want you to consider where you are getting your book recommendations from and what type of reader that person is. Because again, I think a lot of the times we see books that are what people like to consider overhyped. And when we read them, right, or when you read them, you don't like it. That's because you're picking a book that may be outside of your wheelhouse, right? Let's be real with ourselves, friend. Let's be real with ourselves, okay? Lastly, before we get into these book recs, I want you to have fun. I want you to have fun with reading. Reading is always going to be political. Reading is always going to be a very serious thing, right? For a lot of different reasons. You don't always have to read to necessarily be learning something. You can read just to have fun. You can read for escapism. You can read just because that's what you feel like doing. Like, it doesn't always have to be this, I'm sitting down to read because I want to be scholarly. It doesn't always have to be that. It doesn't always have to be that, friend. And I think if we kind of step back from that sometimes and stop feeling like every book that we read has to be this in-depth, deep dive into the psyche of whatever and help you heal whatever trauma, and like if we sometimes just step back and just read something to have fun, I think that makes you a better reader in the long run than anything else, right? That will make you a reader that can sit back and still have good conversation, right? And objectively have conversations about literature and so on and so forth if you know how to have fun. Have fun. Read the smut, okay? Read the comic books, read the anime, read the manga. I don't think that the anime is the actual show, Shug. It's not the... You get what I'm saying. Have fun, okay? Read the YA. It's fun. It doesn't always have to be this big, long, drawn-out thing, okay? We get it, we got it, we good. If you have any particular questions, or if there's any type of content that you want to see around how I read, let me know. I don't like those readathons and the like, see how much I read in 24 hours, because as soon as I turn the camera on to do something like that, it immediately feels like work and I no longer want to read. But if you guys want more like weekly reading vlogs from me, I can do that, just so that you can see what a day of me reading actually looks like. Okay, cool. Book recs. These are in no particular order. I'm just gonna start yipping and yapping. First, we have The Other Princess. This is by Denny S. Bryce. I absolutely love this. I read some of it and I did the audiobook for it also as well. This is about Queen Victoria's goddaughter, who is an African princess named Sarah Forbes Bonetta. It is based on her actual life. I think this is the perfect gateway to the historical fiction genre. There is a bit of romance in here. It's like messy because we got family drama. We get how she ends up being under the protection and ownership, for lack of better words, of Queen Victoria. We get like what her life becomes, who she married. Like, there's so much information in this. It's very well written, but it's not as heavy as some historical fiction can be. So for example, Let Us Descend by Jesmyn Ward. I absolutely loved this book, right? I am a huge Jesmyn Ward fan. I would not recommend this book to someone who is not already an avid reader and doesn't have experience reading things like on this particular level, right? Because someone could open this book that is like a new reader, and because they may not necessarily understand it, they're gonna rate it 2-3 star, right? Or a 2 star, 1 star, 0 star, whatever. They're gonna give it a bad rating because they don't necessarily understand it, and not because it's not actually good. Does that make sense? There's a very thin line between I don't like it and I don't understand it. That's something else we need to consider too. So, The Other Princess, I think it is like an amazing gateway into historical fiction. And there are some other historical fictions that I have on this list too. Next, Victor LaValle, Big Machine. Victor LaValle is my favorite. What I love about his writing is we do get well written, right? We get the well written, but he's also funny, and he does a lot of world building, which I think is important for someone who wants to make reading a habit, wants to become a better reader, wants to be like into like maybe more difficult books later on down the line, right? He's gonna get you there. You actually should read his whole catalog, because he has a lot of experience writing different things. So not only does he write horror, but he does write for comic books also as well. So I think you really can see his world building techniques and how they translate between writing a fiction and writing a comic book. I think he does it very well. But again, if you want to get into high fantasy later on down the line, I think starting with something like Big Machine is going to give you the world building, and any of his other books, right? I love Lone Women by him. I talk about The Changeling all the time because I absolutely love that book. 2 books, a lot of world building, a lot of creatures, but in a way that is tangible, right? Because if you were to pick up Game of Thrones or a Stephen King book, you might not enjoy the ride because you need something that's gonna dip your toes in there, okay? And it's gonna make you laugh. It's a little weird. It's like what we get into, how we even get here for real. I might make this a book club pick soon. We'll see. Next, a book that I didn't necessarily enjoy, which kind of goes back into that conversation of consider where you are in your reading journey, right? So the Personal Librarian tells the story of JP Morgan's personal librarian, Belle DaCosta Green, who is passing for a white woman. She is Black American, but she is very fair skinned, so she's passing, and her getting a job with JP Morgan is like a huge deal, especially because she is his personal librarian. And what I didn't necessarily like about this book is why this book is probably perfect for someone creating a reading habit. It is messy. I wanted more history, but this was given like who she was dating, why she was dating him, what was happening while she was dating him. It was given family business, what happened with her daddy and her mom and him and all of that stuff. And like, I think I wanted more about her relationship with JP Morgan, right? Like, I wanted more about that. There is some of that here, but it's very much given like messy drama. Okay, so if I had come across this some years ago, I probably would have like eaten this up. Okay, so that's why I think for my people that are just getting into the thing. Now this is one, so excited about this one. Daughter of the Merciful Deep, Leslie Penelope. Absolutely love Leslie Penelope. She has a book called why can't I think of the name? The Monsters We Defy. I never remember. I love that book. And me and titles, y'all already know what that's about. This one is a fantasy, but it's a historical fantasy. Historical fantasy is one of my favorite genres because it does mix together the two things that I love. I love history, but I also love fantasy. Give me a witch, give me a vampire, give me a wardrobe, give me the lion, give me fairies. I want were-panthers, okay? I want all of the things. So this tells the story of Jane Edwards, who hasn't spoken since she was 11 years old, when armed riders expelled her family and every other Black resident from their hometown. Now, 12 years later, she's found a haven in an all-Black town of Onassa, but the construction of a dam threatens to wash her home under the waters of the new lake. I think this will be perfect. One of the things that I do want to keep, or what I want you to keep in mind about this book, so it's 391 pages. It is longer, but the way that her writing is set up, she draws you in very, very, very quickly. Like, she gonna pull you in, she gonna snatch you up, and you gonna forget that it's that many pages. You absolutely need to read this. And if you haven't, you should read her other book, The Monsters We Defy. I love that one too. That one took place in Washington, D.C., and it talks a lot about like voodoo and magic in the Black community and the things that we risk. Like, basically, when you ask your ancestors for something, what comes with it? That's all I'm gonna say. Next, a book that had me sniffling and snotting before I let go. This is a romance, and this is one of the first romance novels that I read, because I used to be one of those people that was just like, I don't like romance, it's too cheesy, blah blah blah. One of the things that I love about Kennedy Ryan is that she does an amazing job at writing a love story that is real, right? I feel like sometimes we get these love stories that are cheesy, and it's like, oh, I bumped into him down to the coffee shop and spilled my coffee all over him, and he bought me another one, and now we madly in love because he stared into my eyes and all of that, blah blah blah. No, she came out swinging with Before I Let Go, and it was like, oh, here is this married couple that experienced an extreme loss and decided to get a divorce, but they have to run a business together and they have to co-parent together. How is that worked? It's forced proximity. It covers a lot of hard conversations, like going to therapy, right? What are the things that you'll do to save your relationship? How are you going to handle your husband or your ex-husband dating again, right? And your kids really liking the lady that he dating. How you gonna handle that, friend? It's like messy but elevated. Does that make sense? It's messy but it's elevated. I absolutely love this. Kennedy Ryan's this is awesome. I can't think of the second book in this series right now, but I'll put it on the screen. That one is awesome. Real, REEL. I'll put that on the screen as well. Y'all have heard me talk about Real in so many different ways. I love the audiobook for Real. I love the story for Real. It's spicy. Okay, Kennedy Ryan tells an amazing story, and I also think she is not only this book, but she is an author that can help you get pulled in to a reading habit, because you're gonna sit and you're gonna want to read all her books. Last but certainly not least, I have Half Blown Rose. This is by Lisa Cross Smith. Now, y'all might remember, this is another book that I was like, count me out. Me and Lisa read this one together, and it's a very interesting story. So Vincent is she's 44. She is living in Paris. She finds out that her husband like had an affair, and now she's having an affair, and how she is navigating this new life with this hot young tender that she done found in Paris that speak French to her and is blowing her back out sometimes. It was like, again, one of those books that I like read, like, I probably need to read this again. Gosh darn it. Child, it just be stuff flying off the... Anyway, I probably need to read this one again. I think had I read it at a different time, I would have eaten it up. It just was, she was so whiny. But I could also see why someone might love this. I could totally see why somebody might love following this 44-year-old on this journey to finding herself again, right? Like, everything that she knew just wasn't true anymore. And her kids were grown. Like, everything that she had poured herself into just wasn't anymore. So now she was like running away from it and trying to figure it out. At the time, I was just like, Mama, I need you to tighten up. I need you to tighten up. But I could see somebody opening this book and falling in love with reading because of how poetic it was, right? And real. I think sometimes lit fiction can be too serious. I think that's what it is. I think sometimes lit fic can be too serious. This, on the other hand, was it was unserious, and I think it would be the perfect pick. I think it would. I think I could totally see someone opening this and being like, oh my God, it's my favorite book. I totally relate to her. I totally relate to how she felt about that little young tender from Paris. I mean, high key, I did want to... I was looking for tickets to Paris after I read this, because I was like, baby, I want me a little... I mean, I ain't 44. So I guess the little young tender that I want is my age. I don't know. Okay. All right. Well, without further ado, if nobody has told you today, I love you. I hope this helps you create a reading habit. I hope I gave you some good advice here. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments. Again, I love you. If no one has told you today, you are kind, you are smart, you are important. If to no one else, to me. Bye, friends.